Here's the thing. I had one event that happened recently. So I recently lost my grandma, obviously due to age because she was 98. But this really got me to think that you really don't know who you are until you end up losing something. Until it's someone who's important to you, someone who you spent years of your life with, or whether it's like restarting back again, like what I've done monetarily. But it really makes you wonder and really makes you think that you don't know anything about yourself or how you even react to the world when, when you have not faced these ideas. The reason why I'm saying this is because I wouldn't have got to the stage where I have got if I didn't had have these events happen. Because the way you can look at them is either for a good or a bad thing. What you can do is just frame it and think, hey, what event has happened? How can I end up fixing it? What do I need to do? How do I need to face it? And what do I need to do to make sure I can react to this event better? Because obviously, when an event happens for the first time, when you lose something, you don't know how to act. Let's just say you were spawned in a dungeon or a cave down at like level 4 or 5, and you're only like a level 1. You're like, I don't know what to do because I'm facing these bosses, I'm facing these demons, and then you've got to basically work your way up because level 5 is like level 1, level 2 is like level 20, 30 enemies, level 3 is slightly harder stuff, and then level 5 is kind of like the final boss before you can get back to that state of mind. But the thing is, you can choose to either stay within that cave forever, or you can end up coming up with processes or systems, or even ways how you just perceive the world, or even ways that you like to actually attack things. So you're not stuck in that cave forever. But it's like with everything in life, you've either got the point where you've got to run and attack it and figure out your way, or you can just sit back and let it engulf you. Because the more and more you let it engulf you, you get stuck in that darkness, you get stuck in that cave, you get stuck in that feeling of the unknown, and you don't know where you're going to end up. You don't know how you're going to end up actually attacking things. You don't know what you're going to end up saying, what you're going to end up doing, or what's going to happen to you long term. You just simply do not know. And that's the biggest struggle that most people have when it comes to losing something. They do not know how they're gonna react because it's like simply when you go into a new environment, when you go into something which was unexpected or something that happens that you don't know how your brain doesn't know how to comprehend at the time up until you're in the event of the hard stuff. You don't know how you're going to react to it. Most people don't. Most people honestly don't, and that's why I say it's probably the best way described is like a cave system because you enter in it not knowing what monsters are in there, what demons you're going to face, how you're going to end up actually finding your way out, and how you're going to end up actually attacking it. You come from a point of sitting back, thinking, what's going to happen? How am I going to react to this? How am I meant to respond to the world's reflection when I end up figuring this out? Because the world is a reflection of how you perceive the world. The world is a reflection of what you have faced internally. And that's why I say, as well, once you keep on attacking the hard stuff within you and keep on attacking the difficulty of the internal and the difficulty of the external, you will end up becoming someone different. You will end up becoming someone who is willing, someone who is actually willing to face the unknown. Because everything in life is the unknown. The hard stuff or the harder stuff in the life is just the unknown or the even greater unknown. Because you could be thrown down at that cave another 2 more levels down because you're not willing to suffer it and because you're not willing to do that hard stuff now. It's like, as well, it's like whenever you want to actually attack and whenever you want to actually move forward with things, you've got to keep on facing and just keep on just slaying the enemies at that level and figuring out a way on how you either are meant to A, figure out a way how you're meant to attack it, B, figure out what are you meant to say, what are you meant to do, C, figure out how you react to the external world, and D, figure out how does it actually internally affect you? What does it actually matter? What does it actually say when you've got an internally process, internally think, internally change your belief systems. It's sort of like burning off a forest, if you think about it. You got to burn everything off. Everything's got to die. It's going to hurt. It's going to take a while. Everything has got to die. And then the only stuff remains is the actual strong trees, is the only actual strong elements of the forest, like the lakes and the trees that don't die to fire, or the trees that replenish with fire, especially in the Australian outback. They replenish, they multiply, but you're still stuck with all this burnt, all this ash that you've got to clear up. You're still stuck with all the old stuff which needs to die. All this stuff needs to die is because it's not helping you. It's going to suck, it's going to burn, and it's going to sometimes even feel like you're being stabbed. It's going to hurt though. And that's why I say you've got to basically end up losing something, feel that pain, feel through that suffering to actually understand that, once you actually go through it, once you can actually help and figure out your own way of attacking things, you're going to figure out your own way, because it's going to hurt. It may take a few years to burn off all of that stuff which is not actually helping you. It's going to take a few years or even a few days or even a week or two to just process the pain, the misery, the suffering, all of that sort of stuff, because you're trying to be like, well, I've got this new version of the world. I don't know how it's going to end up attacking, how I'm going to end up figuring it out. Like, for example, when I reset my first time, I was living in a house that was $900 a week and I was splitting it 50-50. And then I only had about $250 a week, which $150 was going towards my loan, and then I only had $50 for food. And I was like, how am I meant to drive a vehicle? How am I meant to figure out how to have a girlfriend during this time? And the way I figured it out was just attacking forward, just by moving stuff, by sitting back thinking, what skills could I actually acquire? How could I end up developing to be the right person for this situation so that I can never be put in this situation again? Obviously, I ended up breaking up with her. I ended up becoming a different person, because it felt like it was a balancing act between me wanting to get to that dream life where I wanted to go to, because I always had that dream. I always had that want. I've always had that need of wanting that successful marketing agency like I have today. But on the other end, I've always wanted to come from a point where I've also been able to lose everything multiple times over, whether it's through emotional, physical, or monetarily stuff, because it just adds more scars, and the more scars you add to your character, the more personality that you end up developing, the more darkness within you that you can start seeing within your shadow, when you're like, I never realized I had these elements to me. I never realized I could actually process this in this certain type of way. That's why I say the best way to describe is like a cave or a dungeon type of system. Because the only way you're going to figure this out is by looking internally, digging deeper, going to a point where you get up to those level 50s, those level 25s, and you end up coming to such a stage where you can finally say, this is the person who I am. This is finally the person who I want to be, or the person I want to be for now. Because you're in a constant state of change. You're in a constant state of winning and losing. This world only has two realities. One where you lose it, or one where you gain it. It has no other difference, and that's where we go back to the yin and yang. You got to take all the bad and you got to turn it into good, and you got to take all the good and turn it into bad. Because if you don't have that ability to basically flow through the good and the bad, you will not be able to actually get a hold of yourself, and you'll not be able to conquer the world like the way you need to conquer it. Like I even said, like, probably one of the other best examples is when I got scammed 100K, which was a part of me losing everything twice. I came to a stage where I was just like, I've got no emotional attachment to it. I'm indifferent to it. You need to come to such a stage of being indifferent to it. And this was also all by the time I was 20. I'm currently 21 now, running a marketing agency, doing all that sort of fancy stuff. Doesn't really matter. But the point that I'm saying is that you need to understand, you need to get to such a point where you're able to suffer. You're able to face the stuff that you do not want to face. Because the world's not going to get easier. The world's only going to get harder, especially if you do not want to confront the darkness. The darkness should not be able to eat you alive. You should be able to work in unity with the darkness, because as much darkness as what we have, we also have as much light. As much light we have in the giving, in the acts of kindness, in the words, in the way that we act and perceive in this world. It's all going to act and it's all going to come up. But because you're acting in such a positive light, you're also going to get this negative light too. You've got to realize that as well. And you've got to figure out a way on how you're going to end up balancing it, how you're going to end up juggling it. And also, this is why I say the loss is so important, because you've got to figure out what your true darkness is. Yes, I understand you have these thoughts of wanting to do certain things or wanting to act in a certain way. Let's just say whether it's malevolent or whether it's not, or whether it's even in such a way of just wanting your life to just completely go lights out. You still got that darkness which you've got within you. You've still got that stage. You've still got that extra bit of psychology, which most people don't even have access to because they're too busy stuck. They're too busy thinking on, oh, when's the next game going to be playing? Oh, when's this next event going to be happening? But they don't really have any true emotion when it comes to loss. The only thing they cry about and care about, not everyone, but this is just coming from a point from where I've perceived that through the life I've lived at 21 years of age, of where they only care at the moment of the actual game that's going on. Yes, they do care if they've had family pass, but they don't sit back, think and reflect on what's actually gone on and why are they thinking in this sort of format or this sort of perspective. Why do they believe that their reality is playing in this sort of way? Why are their thoughts construed and why are they thinking like this? That's a bit they've got to realize. That's a bit that most people will never actually truly think about. And this is why I say the loss is so important. Because think about it, as I'm going back to this metaphor again. In the CAD system, you're leveling up. Every 10 levels, you get access to a new point in your skill tree. And also the thing is, you're going to have to end up respawning. You're going to have to end up respawning no matter what happens, because you are going to lose all your health and you are going to end up respawning. I mean, obviously, the only reason why I'm not saying the actual word is because we're on YouTube. And the whole point of that is so then you can rebirth the Phoenix process. And you got to rebirth that process multiple times, physically, spiritually, and mentally as well. And even monetarily as well. Like the best entrepreneurs and the best business owners who I know have lost it all. And coming back to that final point of me saying, you don't know who you are up until you lost, because you've got to be one with the light and with the dark. You've got to be one with loss and suffering, as well as one with the hope, joy, and happiness of the people who you care about. Because relatively, we've been put on this life as men so that we can protect, we can provide, and we can give the life that we want to the women and to the kids and to the family that we want to build. We have been given this, but in exchange, we have to suffer. We have to go through the hardships. We have to go through the times of where we don't know what's going to end up happening. And as I said, like, one of the most important factors is just sitting back there, thinking for a day, or even sitting back there while you're at, while you're just about to put your head to sleep at night, just sitting there thinking about, how would my life change if this would act in a certain way? It's even like, I was just about to say, even it's like, last night, I was literally sitting there and thinking, what would it be like if she was still alive? What would it be like if, and you just play with all these possibilities. You just play with these false realities of obviously they're not going to happen. And you're like, how did this event actually change me? How did this event change the people around me? Because everyone's going to react differently. But as I said, it comes to a point where you've got to basically become one with that darkness. Yes, I know the darkness sucks. Yes, I understand that it hurts. Even it hurts me basically speaking for the past 14 minutes. But there's got to be a point of where you've got to address your thoughts, where you've got to go into and walk into that dark pillar within yourself, so then you're able to actually figure out who you are. You've got to figure out who you are. You've got to I don't even define it as trauma. I just define it as experiences. You got to define it as your experiences to see what you are capable of achieving. You've got to realize what's going on in your life, you've got to realize, why are you facing the world like you do? And as I said, the only way you're going to figure that out is by looking into yourself and actually thinking, how am I going to do this? And also a reflection of the business world as well. Because you're going to be basically starting off on a brand new game, no matter what business you want to try. Just imagine, one's like Mario Kart, one's Legend of Zelda, one's Smash Bros, one's Minecraft, and with all these different, like, I'm just providing games example, or one's like Call of Duty or whatever, doesn't really matter. They all have the same, pretty much they all end the same way. But you're going to be facing the world in the exact same way. You're going to be learning a brand new skill, which you're just going to be scared out of your mind. You're not actually going to understand, but you're going to be horrified. You won't know what to do, but obviously this is where I say you should need that mentor figure, so then they can guide you towards that light, because they've already seen the ruins. They can help you. They can provide you with knowledge. They can provide you with the spells and the experiences which you need, so then you're actually able to move forward, not just be stuck there and sit there idle for the rest of your life, because God literally gave you a reason to build your life. God gave you the ideas of these thoughts of what you want to do, what you want to say, and how you want to end up building your dream life. There's a reason why you have that. Not everyone else has that. A lot of people are just sitting there working their 9 to 5s and don't actually believe in themselves and don't actually believe they are capable of making it possible. So they just believe themselves are going to be stuck in that same sort of life forever and ever and ever. This is why I say, when you play that game, whether it's e-com, whether it's marketing, whether it's sales, whether it's crypto, or even software, I would highly recommend you grab that mentor figure, someone who's faced already within the trenches, someone who has access to the system and has actual access to the knowledge and understanding which you need, so then you can get to the next level. And yes, you will still have to go through that darkness. You will still have to go through that darkness entirely, but at least you then got a blueprint. At least you then got a map. At least you then got systems and ways you can figure out, so then you can farm XP, so then you can farm more loot, and then you can end up getting to such a greater point where you're not at a stage where you end up losing that many times. Obviously, you still have to lose a ton of times, but look at me, for example. Obviously, for me helping you guys with the marketing agency, I've now restarted 4 times now, because I was coming from different directions where I was thinking, okay, well, originally my first offer was crypto. Obviously, Australian legislation wasn't allowing that. And also, I was still running my marketing agency at the time. I just had a bunch of knowledge and had a bunch of clients, and I had a whole bunch of people within my sphere who were very involved in crypto. And then after that, I went to marketing. And then for the first marketing channel, I got shadow banned. And then, so that's already 2 channels down. And then after that, I went back to the other channel. And then I wasn't getting the right audience. It wasn't the best long-term play. And now, 4th time around, this is also uploading for about 12 months now. 4th time around, I've got now 5 channels which I'm managing, between my main channel, my business channel, which is obviously for the people who I work with on the business side of things and gets more people in on that side, and then for obviously the 2 highlights, and also for the podcast for you guys who haven't seen that, because it actually goes in more in depth and more parts which you don't see on this channel. Because it's like, for this channel, I focus on what stuff do you have problems with, what stuff are you facing, how am I trying to help you to move forward, and how can I help you with starting that dream life that you want to start. And obviously more on the podcast, we talk to the business owners, we talk to the people who've done this, we've talked to the people who have suffered and been there, and they have helped hundreds of people getting to that point where they're not just stuck within that darkness, they're not just stuck within that state of mind of feeling like they're trapped, of feeling like they don't have a guide, or don't feel like that they've actually got an expert who can actually help them. And that's the whole reason why I've done this, and that's the whole reason why you want to start on this journey, because you're going to suffer no matter what happens. You might as well suffer for a greater purpose. You might as well suffer for something that is more powerful and something that is way more possible of happening than restarting back, going back to your working a job, being stuck working within that skill set, not actually understanding what you need to say, what you need to do. Obviously, you will still get paid for it. You get paid for time and money and that skill up front. Whereas if you run a business, You've got to have so many losses. You've got to have so many lessons learned before you can end up start making that first bit of money. And that's where we come in. We can help you be like, well, we've already done this. We've already suffered here. We've already lost in this game multiple times, but we haven't given up. We'll show you the blueprint on how you can get from barely working your job, barely earning £2,000, £4,000, £8,000 a month, all the way up to making £10,000 a month or 20,000 Australian dollars or whatever currency we're playing with here. Within a few weeks, given the stuff that we've learned and given the systems and knowledge that we have implemented. Does that make sense? And that's why no matter what position you are, when it comes to wealth, when it comes to relationships, when it comes to psychological, like even the psychological element, yes, you can act as your own therapist, but this is where you should also start to bounce ideas off of people. And this is why I say, like, loss is such a great factor for it because you're not going to get there. Same thing with business. One of the best ways that I got taught business was by cold calling strangers on an e-com offer that I originally was on. From an e-commerce offer, I was selling an offer in America while I lived in Australia. That was one of the best lessons that I've learned. And then obviously I've set sales, I've got sales in from there, but I've also come to a point where I know I can help people given what I know, given what I have knowledge and the power that I have. And given I've done it once, I can do it again. I can do it for someone else and just tailor my advice and guide you based on your current situation. Like, I know everything that I have is, will help the businesses move forward and will help the people who I'm working with at the moment. Like, I've also just hired a sales team. A 21-year-old just hired a sales team. This is going to be an absolute show for itself, but it's still, again, I've never done hiring before. But I know, because I'm also hiring someone who has done this previously, I'm going to be put in a better position. And I'm still going to be at the point of still running a successful marketing agency. Like, I am aware of that. It's just moving up the pace a lot quicker. But does that make sense? You've got to lose something so then you can regain. The whole point of us losing is so that we can become better. We can become within that darkness and we can become that phoenix that we need to be. And as I said, not just sitting there working a 9 to 5. You've got to go through hard. You've got to basically go through that phoenix process multiple times so then you can actually get that dream life of yours. You've got to get that dream life of yours no matter what happens. That's obviously why you've sat so long watching this video. And that's obviously why I choose marketing. The good thing is about marketing is that you guys can watch these videos here, or I can get clients on my marketing agency side of things, scale them up another 50,000 a month. And then they understand the story, they can understand, they can relate. They have had the same issues that everyone else had within their life, but you align with these people and it just becomes working with these people and coming up to these systems, processes, and also helping them move forward within this process a lot simpler, a lot easier, because then you don't have to suffer as much, or they don't have to try and figure it out the hard way. But I guess that's the whole point of life. It's like you consult a doctor. Whenever you've got an issue, whenever you've broken a bone, you consult them because they see it every day, because they can diagnose your problem. And that's essentially what I do for businesses and what I do with helping people start marketing agencies. So yeah, that's it from me for today. If I was you guys, I'd click the link below in the description if you want to actually start your own marketing agency. I'll work with you one-on-one. It's a free call, so you got nothing to lose. And I can just see if you're an actual good fit. And if I was you guys, I'd watch the video on your screen over here. What is the biggest belief that is stopping you? Give that a watch. First, just give this video a bit of a think before you do anything. Then after that, give that video a watch. Actually figure out what is stopping you from getting you to your dream life, which was also what I covered in this video. But give that a watch. See what belief is actually stopping you from doing what you want to do. But other than that, that's me out. And yeah, I'll catch you in the next one.